Hi everyone, welcome back to the Web3 channel. My name is Zach. In this video, we're looking at an interesting ETH multi-chain network, SKALE. Let's go through what's happening here with this network earmarking a 100 million USD investment, I assume, to fuel blockchain gaming. The network of decentralized economics will kickstart the program with 5 million USD to creators focused on blockchain gaming, play-to-earn gaming, and the metaverse. Let's go through what is happening here. The ecosystem program will launch in tandem with SKALE V2 and SKALEverse. The network aims to onboard millions of users and has a focus of NFTs, DeFi, and Web3. ETH-focused multi-chain network SKALE set up a 100 million USD grant program to fund the future of blockchain gaming. The company announced the initiative at the ETH Denver conference on Friday. The capital will be used to increase and onboard applications and projects to the SKALE network. The network of decentralized economics will kickstart the program with 5 million USD to creators focused on blockchain gaming, play-to-earn gaming, and the metaverse. The launch is timed in tandem with the network's next iteration, dubbed SKALE V2 or SKALEverse, which aims to optimize features like chain-to-chain transfers, creating ecosystem hubs, NFT marketplaces, and faster game modes. Like most blockchain, the network aims to onboard billions of users and has a focus on NFTs, DeFi, and Web3. Its network helps blockchain games build experiences for users, including zero fees or gasless transactions, plus supporting interconnected and interactive blockchain, SKALE co-founder Jack Holloway said in a statement. This launch is the latest step for the blockchain gaming space with large, which has expanded over the past 12 months. Now, we are actually going to be looking at SKALE's talk at ETH Denver. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Subscribe for everything happening in the Web3 space, as this is the Web3 channel covering everything happening from crypto, NFT, and metaverse news. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you in the next Web3 video.
Tools that you love with Ethereum work within SKALE network as well. So Truffle, all the standardized coins, everything will work as normal as you expect it to. And so that helps developers move quickly when it comes to actually moving over to the SKALE network and building within that environment. But how does it work? So similar to Ethereum, we have nodes around the world. There's 48 different validated orgs, about 150 plus nodes within the network, and all of them work to service the network in a decentralized way. But when we decide to create your SKALE chain, what we do is we take a subset of those, group them together, and that creates your SKALE chain. So it's your space, meaning you don't share storage, you don't share transaction speed, which means that if any other project running in the same ecosystem is having a high-low day, it doesn't impact you at all, which is the beauty of a multi-chain network. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. If you look at this, you're like, well, that looks like a small subset of nodes. How can I guarantee that it's secure? Well, the easiest way to do that is to make sure that we rotate a node out ever so frequently to prevent collusion. So you can't just guarantee that you're going to have the same 16 nodes working for your SKALE chain. Over time, you might have 80%, 90%, somewhere around there. But each SKALE chain comes with the same technology, so you'll be able to run your smart contracts, have access to file storage, which is like IPFS on steroids, and then also an interchain messaging bridge, which allows you to still bridge back and forth between Ethereum. Now, what's cool here is that it's kind of like a containerized system. So if you're familiar with sharding, kind of like a similar concept there. But the idea is that we're really trying to make sure that you're not impacted by anything else that's happening within a network. And so while you do see some overlap here on the slides, what's great about that is that it allows you to choose how much of storage and transactions per second you need at any given time when you join the network. We have small chains, we have medium chains, we have large chains, and all of those determine how much storage and transactions per second you're going to receive, which allows you to pay for only the amount of SKALE you need at any given time and then grow with us as your project grows. All right, now this is new. You might have heard a little bit about this yesterday if you were listening to Jack, but we are trying to figure out how do we actually explain to developers to really optimize using a multi-chain system. And the best way to do that is for us to release SKALEverse or SKALE V2. Chadwick, our VP of product, if you have questions, he's right here in front and center to answer all of your questions. Yes, definitely calling you out on the spot. But yes, as far as like all the hubs and dApp chains, let me explain what that means. So the SKALE chain hubs is going to be kind of like a foundational layer, if you will. Think like exchanges. You go to other layer 2 networks, you need a way to get your funds in and out of that network, right? Similar with the SKALE ecosystem. But instead of having it run on your SKALE chain, we can have it run on its own SKALE chain, and you can take advantage of that. And so that exchange the NFT marketplace, liquidity ramp, or any other foundational hub, they provide services into the network. And what they do is they work with us to make sure that they can provide easy ways for you to interact with them within the SKALE ecosystem. And so if you're building a P2E game, a multiverse NFT play, a music DApp, or any other application, you'd be able to use this network by linking into all of these hubs. Thus, by being able to really amp up, your usage within the SKALE network. All right. So I'm going to keep the explanation short because we have a booth, so please come and find us. If you have any other questions or you want to dive deeper into the tech, we're more than happy to answer all of your questions. We also have our VP of BD right here, and Connor. I'm just going to call everyone out. These two will definitely be at the booth ready to answer your questions about everything SKALE. What's really cool is that we have a lot of bounties. We have $25,000 worth of bounties spread across the in real life version of ETH Denver and also the virtual hackathon. So you're not left out if you're not here today. But if you go ahead and scan this QR code, this will give you directions on how to access that SKALE chain and also give you access to fill out a form to be able to get your own SKALE chain and see what it's all about. Now, it also comes with documentation. So of course, if you need help along the way, we have a lot of awesome guides. I'll go through this in just a moment. But I think to call out a few pieces here, if you quickly go through the developer side, what's really cool is that, like I said, we operate with a lot of already existing technologies. So if you use Truffle, if you use Remix, if you like Portis or Bitsky or Taurus, we're connected. So go ahead and try those out and try to connect as many projects here as possible. All right, so as promised, I want to kind of dive into live demos of applications that I've already deployed onto SKALE. I'm going to choose five that were with us early on, developing and helping us really make the product grow, providing a lot of feedback. The first one I'm going to cover is Ivy. You might have seen this yesterday when we were doing the $5,000 giveaway to the charity of your choice. But if you still want to access your NFT, if you scan this QR code, you'll be able to see that NFT that Ivy created for the SKALE network. And if you have iOS, you can save that to your wallet. Now, what does Ivy do? They're kind of like a wallet on steroids. What that means is that that wallet, when you scan this QR code, it doesn't matter if you understand blockchain. It doesn't matter if you have MetaMask or anything else. You can automatically save any NFT that's represented in a QR code directly to your Ivy wallet, and they take care of the rest. It really is using SKALE as a foundational layer only. The user doesn't know it exists. All they know is that it's fast, and it feels like a Web 2 application, which is what we're trying to achieve here. What's great about Ivy 2 is they're also hiring. So if you're playing around and you're scanning the QR code and you're like, hey, this is cool, definitely go ahead and shoot them over a resume because they're looking for cool devs to help tinker with them. All right. Now, if you watch the Super Bowl, I'm not going to have that go again and again and again and again and again, but Coinbase was onto something. Now, I hate to disappoint you. I'm not there to watch the game. I'm there to watch the commercials. I thought that was really cool, and so just kind of incorporate a little bit of that and hope to see more of that in the years to come. Okay, so to switch gears here, there's some other cool companies that I want to kind of like call out. And what I'll do to kind of create that technical feel, so that way anyone here is here to actually learn how to deploy in a SKALE chain, I'll kind of bounce back and forth between the company that developed and the documentation, so you can kind of see how they actually like built all this and made it come together. But one of the early and first applications that deployed onto SKALE is a really interesting one. This is one of those where they really use SKALE as infrastructure only, meaning it runs in the background, the user doesn't know it exists, they just know things are working extremely fast, and they're storing all the data on SKALE, which I absolutely love. So if you go to their website and you scroll down, you'll be able to see quite a few awesome videos on how to actually use their application. But if you are an investor or an analyst or trying to get into it, they provide a really cool system for you to be able to track your portfolios and trades. And what that means is when you use the blockchain, it means that they can't lie to you. They can't go back and delete their history to show that they had 100% wins, because that's unrealistic. It's always existing on the blockchain, and the blockchain that they're using for this is going to be SKALE for all the proofs. And their application is really simple and easy to use. You log in with the email and password. I know, bad security, I have it saved. Don't worry, it's just for testing. But if I come here, I can go ahead and log a few Let's do Apple. I'm going to do 10% Apple. We'll go ahead and do, actually, we'll do a different one. We'll do 10%, whatever that one is. And then I'm going to put 90% in ETH. And I'll go ahead and save that to the portfolio. And so, again, just like simple UI, really easy to use. Anyone that's an analyst that's following other analysts around, this absolutely makes sense to them. But all the data is stored on blockchain, which is really cool. Now, for those that are looking to see how they did it, what they did was they used a combination of deploying to scale. So if I go back here to develop and deploying on scale, getting an endpoint, and simply using Truffle, and Bitski is the wallet of their choice that you use in the background. They use this partner to save all the trades directly within Scale ecosystem. And all they have to do to make that connection is simply provide an endpoint, which is how most of the partnerships end up anyway. We work with all these partners to make it super simple for you to get up and running. You get your endpoint from us, you provide the endpoint to the provider, the connection's there. There's nothing more you usually have to do. Now, the next one I want to show is TrapChain, which is built by Casimir, who's here right up front. She's absolutely amazing. I love the designs that they create. They just pump out amazing products. Her and her developer, Franz, who lives in Ghana, they just develop really cool software. They also decided to kind of blend the best of both worlds. What they said they were going to do is create an ecosystem where you have this UI where any sort of musician or artist, they can pretty much like list their songs and their art here to be able to bought as an NFT version of that, an NFT version of their music track. But what's interesting about this is that a lot of musicians, they don't really have crypto followers. They have, followers, influencers, people that don't understand crypto. And so because of that, you kind of have to make it so that way they can still access this information or buy that NFT, but also remove just enough of the blockchain piece so that way they don't really feel the friction that we're used to. And so what they did was they combined PayPal along with paying with crypto to allow you to buy the NFTs. So when you click on PayPal, it simply just pulls up the PayPal UI, which anyone who's in the Web2 world, this is familiar to them. They understand it. If you pay with crypto, well, it will connect to your MetaMask, and this is familiar to the Web3 world. So again, a really cool use case of combining the best of both worlds. They're not ending there. I think what's really cool here too is they're also kind of building another UI to be able to bring funds over into their scale chain as well, which I think is a really cool use case. And so going back to the documentation, just to tie this all together for the developers in the room, when I come back here, again, they use the same tool things that Covey used. They got their scale chain, they deployed via Truffle, and again, we provided as many code samples as possible. They decided to go with the Taurus application, so a new partner into the mix, but as you can see, as promised, we try to make it as simple as possible. Just provide them your endpoint, you're good to go. And then for that interchain messaging, it is a lot. But what's great is that we have a lot of documentation to explain how to bring the coins over. So whether they decide to bring ERC20s, ERC721s for those NFTs, they're able to bring the assets that they create within the Scale ecosystem back to Scale, which is a game changer. You can save as much gas on Scale as possible because everything you save there is absolutely free. There's no gas cost at all. So that $300 fee for minting an NFT, completely gone. But if you decide you want to put it on OpenSea and send it to Ethereum, you can do that through this bridge, which I think is really revolutionary. So that's the second one that I wanted to talk about. From this group, though, one of the developers, Franz, he is equally amazing as Casimir, and I think what's great is he created another application, which I like because I use ENS all the time. I have a name for my daughter, Zahara, Zahara.eth. It resolves to her, it resolves to her wallet. This is from ENS, but what they're saying is that, a lot of the times it's not really quite intuitive to say that, okay, Zahara.eth is going to match to Zahara.btc. And so what they do is they're taking this, allowing you to access both ENS domains, unstoppable domains, and clet.com, where you can actually enter in each individual identifier, BTC, and see what it resolves to. Now I'm going to go back to ETC because after all, this is a Ethereum conference. And so when I resolve that, ETH, not ETC. And then if I go here, what's cool is it takes you directly to the block explorer. Now Bob is doing really well, as we can see. But what's really cool is that if you decide that you want to use their same service or their same plugin directly within any explorer for all the networks, you can simply do that. So if I put this in here, it will pick it up in the search bars and automatically resolve this for you. Doesn't matter if it's for Ethereum, for Bitcoin, for any of the networks out there. They're integrating as many as possible, which I think is really exciting. They'll be able to enable you to have an easier way to search for real name identifiers to those wallet addresses. And so I think what's really cool about this is it's another example of using SKALE as infrastructure only. It's behind the scenes. You don't know it's there. But what's happening with them is they're storing all of the data every time you buy a new name or change it or trade it. That all gets stored directly within the SKALE ecosystem. Thus, the only thing you pay for is the actual name, and you don't pay for the transaction costs, which I think is another really cool use. Now, these are all really cool applications. But I think to tie it together with that hub example of what we're trying to drive for and go for, I want to bring up another one. And this is one of our really great partners, Ruby Exchange. They are going to be helping us out with the new Scaleverse hub ecosystem. And they're doing that by providing a DEX directly within the SKALE ecosystem. And right now, because they're in development, I'm not going to share the URL, but I will show you some of their UI, which I think is really cool. So one great thing that MetaMask did, and for the developers in the room, I am going to switch off for just a second. If I go back here to our documentation, develop, and then the MetaMask wallet, what's great is that, again, we have another SKALE snippet here. You provide the endpoint, but within MetaMask, because we have this really cool way of switching directly for the user, you don't have to go through the clunky way of, okay, I want to access that specific SKALE chain. Let me go ahead and manually add it in here. That's exhausting. No one wants to do that anymore. So MetaMask made it so that way any developer can go ahead and add a button to allow them to switch directly for you. So we can switch directly to the SKALE network where their dApp chain is or their testnet network is and start to play around with their application. If you're familiar with Uniswap or any other exchange, you probably already know how this works. If you're not, here's how it works. It allows you to do swaps. You can swap directly between any token of your choice that's existing on that chain to any other one. They are using all of SKALE, so they also have a bridge to allow you to bridge directly from SKALE to Ethereum. And then more importantly, what's great is that there's no cost for running transactions within the network. However, we did keep the token there, and it's called S-Fuel. The reason why it's there is to prevent DDoS attacks, because as you can imagine, if we had an open network, anyone can run anything on your chain and probably try to crash it. But if we keep it somewhat kind of locked down by a token, it means that you'll be able to create an environment to where you had to kind of permission someone in. But they took it a step further. They took that sort of permission model and said, how about we make it open by providing a faucet instead directly onto their DEX? So those that want to use their exchange and get access to the SKALE network, all you have to do is click a button to get the tokens. It mints the tokens in the background. And what's great is it provides you everything you need for your wallet to operate within the SKALE ecosystem, as well as for this test example, some test tokens that way I could play around with. So if I go back to that swap and show you what this looks like, again, you're probably familiar with this because you probably already know what Uniswap looks like in other exchanges, but I can switch things like, let's say Ruby, and I'll do 1 to USDC. And just like you would expect the experience to be before, I'm able to click my confirms, confirm that later on in MetaMask, and as you can see, the gas is extremely low because it's basically non-existent. I'll click confirm and head back and wait a few seconds, and boom, there you go. It's just super fast. So the transaction, the swaps happen extremely fast, which means that you can take advantage of this as you're building within the SKALE network. So for all the projects I showed you before, they were early adopters of the SKALE network. With V2, they might decide to use this exchange to now bring liquidity directly to their SKALE chain. And what's great is I think Ruby does a really good job with design. So what you see here is what they're building. They're going to have liquidity, they're going to have farming, they're going to have bridging, they're going to have a profile full of NFTs, and I'm going super fast, so as you can see, things aren't loading all the time, but here we go. We have the NFTs, we have the history, and the Git tokens. So again, another really good use case of how to use the SKALE network.